What's going on, everyone? This is Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. In this show, we are talking the 2020 ZOZO Championship at Sherwood Country Club, our PGA DFS picks show. First off, thank you everybody for watching our videos. Make sure to subscribe if you have not done so already, and continue to like the videos. It really does mean a lot to us. We have another full week of content for you. We're going to do a sleeper video on the ZOZO, so make sure to check that out. Also, we're going to be doing the European Tour DFS breakdown for the Italian Open. We did our first one last week, really enjoyed it, so we're going to go back and do it again. And as Al, we'll be on Twitch on Wednesday night. Craig and I are doing a full DFS breakdown of the ZOZO Championship, 9 p.m. Eastern. Come join us.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that the last few weeks. It's nice going through the whole field, talking about the guys we don't have a chance to talk about and answering any questions that come up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are at Sherwood Country Club in Los Angeles, or just outside Los Angeles. It's a par 72. It's a short one, Craig, just over 7,000 yards. Interesting in the fact that it's got 5 par 5s and 5 par 3s. So it's not your standard setup. We have seen a little bit. The Hero World Challenge from 2000 to 2013 was hosted here. From what we know back then, it sets up more for accuracy over power. But what do you think of the golfer profile?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the Hero World Challenge, that's been Tiger Woods' invitational tournament that they used. I don't know when they play it now, but it used to be right at the very, very end of the year, right. November, December. And small field, like 18, somewhere around there, 18 kind of guys. So very limited history in terms of what we can actually tell. But from looking at it, building the stat profile for golfers, it looked like it was pretty balanced between strokes gained off the tee and approach. It did show that it favored accuracy, but I don't want to overread into that too much, just because back in 2012, we didn't have the dominance of power that we do now. So if you look at the average tournament back then, you wouldn't have the same emphasis on distance off the tee that you do now. I just think that I do think the 5 par 5s is something you definitely want to look at, because it's one more opportunity for the people that can really take advantage of that. It's one more opportunity to score.
For sure. I mean, I completely agree with you. I think that the golfer profile has changed remarkably, even in the last 7-8 years, with how much power is out there now. I'm still leaning a little bit accuracy, and that's kind of built with my player pool this week. But
and that's the thing.
I can understand.
You love building the narrative. So if you think that it's going to play that way this week, then you might as well look at guys who correlate to that, and then if it does turn out that way, you've got all guys who should work well in that environment.
Yeah, exactly. So first off, here are my picks. First one is Collin Morikawa on DraftKings 9,800, FanDuel 11,100. Sorry, he's 7th in strokes gained tee to green at the CJ Cup. I mean, he didn't seem to have his best stuff, but still being 7th in strokes gained tee to green is really positive going into the ZOZO. For the 2019-2020 season, 31st in driving accuracy, 2nd strokes gained approach, and one I really love around here, he was tied for 6th in par 5 scoring. So he's taking advantage of those opportunities. I mean, he's familiar with Sherwood, not the same way that, Matthew Wolff has been getting a lot of press, because he's apparently played this thousands of times and he grew up 10 minutes down the road. But Morikawa was a California boy, as most people know, grew up an hour away from here and went to college near here. He has played it before. He doesn't have a ton of history, but he has played it before.
Yeah, and I think also like familiarity with the actual course, but then when you grow up in that area, those type of courses, so like, you're used to that kind of grass. You're used to that kind of climate. Just everything about it used to. I was a little disappointed with Morikawa's weekend this past week, but he had tons of momentum going into it. So really, I think it's just a matter of him putting together a whole tournament right now, and really showing what we saw from him a little bit more early after the COVID restart.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, I got Webb Simpson, 9,700 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 11,300, so he's actually 8th and 6th. So there's potentially more value on DraftKings. I just think he's playing really well right now, and he fits the course nicely. Again, another kind of driving accuracy guy. In 2019-2020, he is 18th driving accuracy, 6th in strokes gained approach. And again, just like Morikawa, he is tied for 6th in par 5 scoring. He has played Sherwood a couple times before. Doesn't necessarily have the best results, but just I mean, having those rounds in there, I mean, we saw from Kokrak this past weekend at the CJ Cup, having some extra rounds can actually mean quite a bit on a course if most of the field is not familiar with it. So I really like Webb Simpson here.
Yeah, I think Webb can be a good pick on, like unless it's a course that really you need the length and it doesn't have any emphasis on approach. I think he's just such a good pick so often, and
he just seems really solid.
He's so solid, and he doesn't attract as much. Like I think for his ability, he doesn't attract as much attention as some of the other guys up here because he's not young and flashy. He's not JT, who you just know is dominant at times, but he gets the results.
He gets it done, yeah. And Craig, my last pick, Tiger Woods.
So another guy that's not super flashy.
Yeah. So DraftKings 9,000, FanDuel 10,300. A little bit discount on DraftKings there compared to the field. His Sherwood Park history. I mean, he's been there 12 times with the Hero World Challenge under different names. 5-time winner, 5-time runner-up. I did see he got a 14th once. It was just blew my mind. Don't know what happened in that tournament.
Yeah.
I think a kind of funny stat in DraftKings, he's right below Wolf and Hovland, and the fact that he has more PGA Tour wins than those two have PGA Tour starts combined.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I'm not going to throw out a bunch of stats. It's Tiger. There's ways you can kind of discount him. There's ways you can think he's a great play with his course history, but he also hasn't played in a while. But you know what? I think he's priced appropriately. And at 15th in the field, I'm going to be playing some Tiger Woods.
Well, and, they say about Tiger and where his ball striking is right now, as in, the last few months, I don't know if it's necessarily there, but the thing that you hear about him is when all these pros are on the range, he still looks like he hits the nicest ball with his irons. He still looks like he has the most repeatable ball flight and control of all the different trajectories. So if it is a course that favors that approach, I think as much as anyone, it is a benefit to him.
And if it's not overly long and he doesn't have to hit driver, which I think has been possibly his hardest club since he's come back to kind of control that driver. I'm gonna take a chance on him, and the fact that he has 4 rounds as well. I really like him. I mean, I might preview my one and done pick here a little bit, but I like the fact that we're guaranteed that we're getting 4 rounds from Tiger.
There's
and we know
tease.
We're gonna get a finish. Yeah, a little bit of a tease.
Yeah. So I have gone a bit of a different direction than you. I've gone for all guys who are ball strikers and not necessarily, some of these guys have really good approach play, but really I'm looking for guys who I just think are a little bit discounted for various reasons. Maybe, so let's start here, I guess. Rory McIlroy, he's priced 5th on DraftKings at 10,400, which, I mean, when's the last time you would have had Rory 5th, first off? It's unbelievable.
I actually had to go back and look, but I guess Xander's above him. He's a top 4 player in the world. It's Rahm, DJ, JT, and Rory, and that's the class.
Yeah, and we probably don't have DJ. I mean, so he is included in the fifth ranked pricing, but we probably don't have DJ here. So. Yeah. I think so. Rory was not great when we came back from the COVID break, and I think that people are still sort of putting the weight on that. But we have seen him start to turn it around here. He's got 4 straight top 20s, maybe top 20, including a 21st last week. But he really has shown his dominance off the tee. That when Rory is playing his best, that's he essentially his baseline can be a stroke better than average just because he averages about a stroke off the tee on his bad days. So, for 2021, or sorry, for the 2021 season, which we now have, I guess he's got 8 rounds in. He's plus 173, which I think second in this field is just about 1. So, I spoke about this on one of our Showdown videos last week, but he's just has such a huge advantage right now with the driver. Yeah. The last time he had a negative strokes gained off the tee round was not a championship, so not a tournament. I looked back to like 2017, 16. I couldn't find like a whole tournament where he was actually negative, but just a single round was at the BMW Championship before the Tour Championship.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So, and then looking back to the start of 2019, only 10% of his rounds. He's had 12 rounds where he's had even a negative strokes gain off the tee round. So, wow. I mean, that's like you hit one in the drink, you hit one out of bounds, and like that could be a negative round based on everything. So to me, it's just such a huge advantage. The problem with Rory is that his approach play has not been what we typically expect.
Right.
I think we're seeing some signs of life there, and I think that he's grinding to get his game ready for Augusta. And, you know, last week he looked a lot better than the result. You know, I spoke about it again in our podcast. He had a lost ball right in the front of one of these greens where they were losing balls in the front hill. So that's a two-stroke penalty. That would have made him a tie for 10th. He was, 5 or 6 over in his last few holes, just a total collapse, which...
On, his, 68th hole in, he was bogey, double bogey, bogey, double bogey. So straight from there, I mean, that's a top 5 to tie for 21st.
Yeah, and it was just super... I don't know all of them, but like some of them was just super sloppy. Like that little par 3 17th, he hit it in the bunker right over and just made a mess and double bogeyed it. I just think that... I think Rory is on the verge of turning that corner to when Rory becomes dominant again, and I want to catch it.
He's more passing the eye test right now than just looking at his finishing position necessarily. So you can get an advantage that way, and I like that. Yeah,
and the stats too. So the stats, strokes gained approach. It doesn't show that. 2 of those, he had a -2 hitting into that par 5 where he lost the ball, which that is not, the process versus the result is not reflected in the stat. Anyways, moving on here. Scottie Scheffler. I could talk about Rory all day. So. Scottie Scheffler, we got him at 8,200 on DraftKings. He's priced 23rd, and then 9,300 on FanDuel, also 23rd there. So Scottie, we've had him coming back from, he had a positive COVID test, had to take a few weeks off, and coming back from that, he's just really had poor results. So to me, this is based in large part on his full 2019-2020 rookie season. He was 14th ranked strokes gained total. So 23rd pricing for someone who's long-term, look at that as sort of a long-term baseline. I like it. I think that, so the price is reflective of how his results have been in the past 3 weeks. I don't know if his ownership, people might jump on that because you don't get a lot of chances to have Scottie Scheffler priced where he is. Yeah, absolutely. So it may be low owned based on recent result, but it could also attract ownership. But, I was looking a little bit more through his numbers to see, with this poor play, what has it been? And his strokes gained off the tee has been fine. He's been positive 9 out of the 10 rounds he's played, which was pretty much in line with prior to him getting sick. But so his strokes gained approach has been much more the problem, and his short game. So I think one of the biggest differences is normally his strokes gain approach is very good, and it hasn't been in the last 10 rounds. But he had 2 of his best days at the CJ Cup. There just wasn't, there was good days mixed in with bad days, and then his short game just was inconsistent and I think a little bit sloppy. But basically, I'm looking to catch him maybe low owned, but definitely at a low price. And if we get him...
Absolutely a low price.
Yeah, and if we get him when he, if his approach game tightens up that last little bit to where he was before, and then, putting and around the green stats are so volatile. And I also think, when guys are sort of getting their game back, they can grind for 2 days practicing and look like their putting or short game is totally different than it was before. So...
No, I really like Scheffler. I was on him last week. I think both you and I like to be early on guys. We like to kind of push away the recency bias or maybe look for things that aren't really telling the whole truth. So you get a discount there. Looking at his strokes gained numbers compared to his salary, and the fact that he's below average on both those sites. Yeah, I'd rather be early on Scottie Scheffler.
Well, yeah, and I was talking about it a little bit with Jason Day last week, and unfortunately he had to withdraw, so it didn't really pay off, but it looked like it was going to until then. But really, it's
Yeah.
like there's so often I think that when you see the recent results aren't reflective of their long-term statistical baseline, then like get in there. And yeah, it might not work this week, but when it does work, it's the big payoff for it.
For sure. Absolutely.
Last one here, Adam Scott, 7,900 on DraftKings, 26th ranked, and then 9,500 on FanDuel. To me, this is just like a pure value play. I think, like, first off, his full 2019-2020 season, he was 17th in strokes gained. But I also just think, I don't know if anyone down there, like, I don't know if you saw the guys who are ranked around him, but there is so much win equity for me at 7,900.
Right.
There's a lot of guys, you know, they have to kind of have a few weeks playing well and have momentum before they're going to really break through and win. Adam Scott can parachute into a tournament without having seen him play competitive golf for a month and win a tournament.
Yeah.
Like, he's just so good.
He's not done winning in his career either. We know there are more wins for him. You know?
And I mean, he's 40, but he has such a rock solid swing that, like, usually you worry about the ball striking as these guys get older. But I'm not worried about his ball striking at all. So it's really just a matter of if it all sort of comes together in this tournament. But I mean, I think the lack of results will keep the ownership a bit low. Like, you know, oftentimes these older guys that don't play as much, they're not sexy, young, rising stars. I think that keeps their own...
he's sexy, Craig.
I mean, Adam Scott is, I should have used a different adjective, that's for sure. But they don't have the same appeal as a pick, because you want to get that guy. Like, I was looking at Abraham Answer, who's priced similarly, and you want to get him on like his first win. But you know, do you think he has more win equity than Adam Scott right now? Like, I don't think it's...
That's a great point.
I think Adam Scott's going to be a lot more comfortable playing with a lead than Abe Answer is.
The only thing that I'm hesitant with Adam Scott is was his last term at the U.S. Open.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big break. I mean, I guess I picked Tiger as well, so I shouldn't be that worried about it. But it is a longer break for maybe these guys that are priced around them that can't necessarily drop in and parachute in, like you said. That would be my one concern with Scott. But now that I'm contradicting myself, having picked Tiger, maybe I'm over it.
But so that's where, like, I don't think with a guy like Scott, I don't think it actually, that break decreases his chances of winning a ton, but I think it does decrease his ownership. So to me, it's just essentially if those chances are the same and the ownership will be a bit lower, then I'll take that edge, you know?
For sure.
Okay, let's recap it all.
Recapping here, I got Morikawa at 9,800, Webb Simpson at 9,700, Tiger Woods at 9,000, and we're talking our fade. So my fade this week is Bubba Watson at 8,700. So
which is love Bubba. I love Bubba.
So he was a sleeper pick of mine last week. Then I talked about him on the pod as a stock up. So
I think we brought him up a few times on the Showdown videos.
On Showdowns for sure. He was priced 34th. He's priced 7,300 on DraftKings last week. He gets bumped up to
a great
87.
Sleeper at 7,300.
Great sleeper. He gets bumped up to 87, which puts him 18th in the field. So yes, I understand he was first in strokes gained tee to green last week, but to go from 7,300 to 8,700, I am fading the ownership. I'm fading the new price. I still have a good week, and that might be a top 15 or a top 10, but I'm fading him for DFS.
Totally agree. The game is the same. It's still Bubba Watson. It's still the same volatility. It's still, you know, some weeks he can look like he's how does he not win all the time? Other weeks it's like, oh man, this guy should be happy. This is a no cut event, you know? But when the price changes so dramatically, then I get it.
So I'm going accuracy, right? And Bubba Watson is not an accuracy guy. I mean, he can shape it, but he's not a driving accuracy guy. So
got it. Right. So I've got Rory at 10,400, Scottie Scheffler at 8,300, and Adam Scott at 7,900. And then my fade here, I'm looking at Tommy Fleetwood. And so 8,500, So I was looking through Tommy Fleetwood because I was like, can I find a way that I actually don't mind him? Because he has had some decent results in Europe. But his PGA results and his results in the States have not been as good. So, I was looking through his numbers a bit. The thing that jumped out to me, so his strokes gain off the tee since the start of the 2020 year has been negative in 12 of 35 rounds. So that's 34% of the time.
Interesting.
And that is the same. I had to go back for Rory. I had to go back to 117 rounds to find 12 rounds that were negative off the tee. So to me, it's just like that like strokes gain off the tee is such a huge it sets up everything. Baseline advantage. And if you can't count on that, like he has days where it was good, but it's just he had too many days where it was negative. And so I don't know. I want to see a little bit more consistency out of him before I'm going to spend up at that kind of price. So yeah.
No, I completely get it. He seems like he's two different, like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Europe and like America is two different Tommy Fleetwoods. It's hard to know which one he's going to show up and beat.
And still no wins over here. So
still no wins. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for watching our video. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and also follow us on Twitter at Grandstand Golf. That is where we push out all our content. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.